him. I've finished the second part of Dune, which is called Muad'Dib. This is the part where Paul gets his name. This is not a very long section, but it took me a while to read because reading it is a little like trying to walk through the sands of Arrakis. It's slow going and a little bit tedious at times. It's full of rich description, and I think that's born of Frank Herbert's genuine interest in desert ecology. He had an interest in desert ecology, and that kind of birthed Dune, is my understanding. And that shows here. He's very detailed about it. He's got a lot of information here. And, a lot of just amazing world building, a lot of detail, right? But sometimes while reading, when nothing much is going on except people walking through a desert, it can feel a little plodding. Maybe that's intentional. Maybe he wants you to feel as they do. I still love this book. I'm still really enjoying the read. I'm trying to remember how I felt about these parts when I was 11-ish and read it for the first time. And I don't know. I don't remember. I remember really liking Paul. I think one of the reasons I didn't read all 6 books, besides the fact that at book 3 things got very strange, was that Paul was no longer as central, and I identified, at that age with a young man, in his situation. I feel differently now as an adult, obviously. But in any case, part 2, Muad'Dib, we have Tufir Hawat being captured by the Harkonnens. And this is a part that, again, in the movie, doesn't really... In the most recent movie, I'm not even sure I remember whether they did that as a... Did they even bring that up? I don't even know what they did with Tufir in the current movie. If you remember, leave me a comment. In the 1984 movie, it is there. They talk about how he has a poison in him and he has to be given the antidote daily by the Harkonnens through his food, or else he'll die. That keeps him tied to the Harkonnens. I think in the book he doesn't know that, but in the movie he's told that that is the situation. It's designed to make him loyal, right? But in any case, the Mentat in the most recent movie just kind of evaporate. They're no longer really any kind of presence. And I get it. I think something's got to give. There's a lot going on. This is a dense book with a lot of threads. And, you got to whittle down somewhere. We have Kynes, who is also known as Liet by the Fremen. He is the imperial planetologist, and he does step in to try and help Paul and Jessica, only to have his, sight, which is kind of the caverns that the Fremen live in. They each, kind of have their own little bolt holes. And this is theirs. Kynes, brings Paul and Jessica to his and is agreeing to help them, only to have, I think, the Sardaukar raid it, and Paul and Jessica manage to get away. Kynes is left in the desert to die, which he does after long hallucinations about his father, who had been the planetologist before him. Meanwhile, Paul and Jessica get away and end up with Stilgar, and this part of the book ends with Jessica going through the ordeal of the water of life and becoming the Reverend Mother, and Paul also, again, things they've trimmed. Paul, he kills Jameis unwillingly. He doesn't want to fight Jameis. Jameis insists. He kills Jameis. He then inherits Jameis's woman and his 2 sons in kind of a tribal fashion, but obviously he still likes Chani. And the section ends with him also drinking not the water of life per se, because basically when Jessica goes through the ordeal, she changes the nature of the water somehow. She acts as some kind of weird filter, and then everyone is able to drink it, and it's a very kind of potent drug, and everybody's kind of high on this drink, which they call a gift of Liet. Like, I guess Kynes had created this drink. We learned that the water of life does in fact come from a sandworm that has been drowned. It's drowned and it exhales a liquid, and that liquid is what is used, and it has a poison in it that can kill, but if your body processes it as Jessica's does through, I don't know, her Bene Gesserit meditations, it's not entirely clear, but in any case, then you can survive it and be special. So it ends with Paul also having some of this refined water of life, along with Chani and others, and he and Chani go off to be together. And some interesting things that as a kid I obviously didn't notice. The use of terms like jihad, they refer to the Sunni here. So I assume, since this is set in like the year 10,000 something, that humans from Earth have since gone off to populate the universe, right? Like the Spacing Guild learned how to travel long distances, and after that, humans are everywhere. And obviously the Bene Gesserits are very invested in the human race, the breeding program, continuing and refining it. But it also, you're kind of like, well, is then the only species in the universe human? We don't really see aliens per se. We just see different houses. But like the way the Bene Gesserit consider humans is more like a level of intelligence, or like a lack of impulse, like your ability to curb your impulses, right? Animals can't, humans can. That's kind of their way of looking at it. But everyone is humanoid, I guess. Since the Fremen kind of have this reference to their Sunni ancestors, it's clear they are Middle Eastern or desert-dwelling Bedouin types. I kind of, not coming from that, I don't know how to feel about it. I'm kind of like, is this exotification? Paul, obviously not from that background, being taken in by this tribe, falling in love with, this woman from the tribe. It's interesting. It also, Chani is Liet's daughter, I guess. I don't remember if that happened in the movie or if they made much of it, but the idea that both Paul and Chani have lost their fathers kind of unites them, which is a nice tie. But in any case, I have weird feelings about it. I don't know Frank Herbert. I didn't know him. I haven't really done a lot of research on him. So I don't know if he had a genuine, interest in the Middle East and tribes there and the religion, or if it's just that those are people who live in the desert and his interest in the desert kind of, if he had some kind of admiration for their ability to live in that environment, maybe. I can't tell. It's kind of strange that he would use terminology and stuff like that instead of making up something new and different. But again, I think he's trying to give us this sense that these, way back when, they were all from Earth, right? But I don't know. And if you know, again, let me know in the comments. So I have this much of the book left. we'll see how it goes. This part's called The Prophet, which is obviously Paul's rise to power. He has already begun having these kind of visions of the coming war under the Atreides banner, and how he doesn't want the bloodshed, but he doesn't see avenues out. He's kind of like Doctor Strange, where he can like see a lot of possibilities, a lot of potential timelines or whatever, and many of them have the same or similar events, but like there are a few places where he's like, oh, I see more peace this way than that way or whatever. It's kind of weird. But yeah, so he sees it coming and he's not entirely sure how to stop it or whether he can or that kind of thing. He does at one point think about his mother as being an enemy of sorts, that they're going to be at cross purposes or something along those lines. I don't know. He's 15. Maybe every 15-year-old feels that way at some point about their parents. But in any case, I am still enjoying it. And yeah, we'll see. We'll see. I know, if I remember correctly, and again, it's been a long time, Jessica taking the water while pregnant causes Alia to be born sooner rather than later, and also Alia to grow faster than a typical child or something like that. But we'll see. Again, in the most recent movie, they don't even have Alia born by the time Paul fights Fade Rautha. Oh, that's the other thing that's in this section, is that battle for Fade's birthday, and the Count and Countess Finring are much larger like players in that. They kind of, I mean, yes, the Countess's plan is to seduce Fade to preserve the Harkonnen bloodline, which I think was very clear in the movie, but they're really, the way they talk is very obnoxious. They do a lot of humming, and it's very Skeksis from The Dark Crystal, if you remember that one, Skeksis who hummed all the time. Like, that's what I kept hearing when I was reading their dialogue. But yeah, it's so I don't know if they end up being bigger players in subsequent books or not, or if they end up dying. I don't remember. I guess I'll find out. But they're a little bit more up front and center than I remembered. But yeah, so Fade has his big slave battle moment. I'm not sure what that whole scene was meant to do, aside from continue to establish Fade's character, since he becomes important here at the end, and to also set up that whole bloodline thing. Because, I mean, Paul has realized he's a Harkonnen, and he's like, now Harkonnen will spill the blood of Harkonnen. He's realized that his mother is a Harkonnen. And, yeah, so he realizes that he is the thing he hates, or I don't know, something dramatic like that as a 15-year-old, I'm sure. But anyway, yeah, that's where we are. I'm still enjoying it, even though like the trudging through the sand and like all the detailed action of every single like swipe with a blade and is not my thing. Typically, but I also don't read a lot of science fiction or high fantasy, so I think my sensibilities are a little different. I think that's probably exactly what typical readers of this genre would look for, that level of detail. I do just love the world building, and I'm very much like all for the Fremen turning the planet back into like a working like ecosystem with like water and stuff. I'm like, yes, I want them to succeed. So we'll see, I guess. But that's it for now. I'm going to keep reading this, and until next time, take care.